Welcome to Old Ways Gardening and Prepping. My name is Teresa. I'd like to welcome you all into our kitchen where we're going to have some fun tonight. I've got my hair put up. It's time to do some baking and baking of bread. Another quick bread that you can add to your repertoire. Tonight we're going to be making plantain bread. Yes, I know they're ugly, but this is when plantains are at their sweetest. Now, this is not a banana. This is a plantain. Now, as most people are used to seeing green plantains in the store, those you slice up and fry. Now, you can fry the sweet. When they get sweeter, you can fry them, but they get harder to manage. Now, there's many different recipes you can use using the really, really ripe plantains. But tonight, we're making a plantain bread, and there's a secret twist. I can't talk. That if you add one ingredient, it will make your plantain bread stay soft because plantains are high in starch. And if you're not careful, it will become hard after it cools down, which you don't want. You want it soft, fluffy, and moist. Now, before we get started, I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. I have a loaf pan, buttered and floured. That's very important so it doesn't stick. So let's have some fun cooking here, y'all. Time to do some baking. Alright, now I have a half a cup. Now I will have all the recipe, all the ingredients in the description box below the video. Now I have a half a cup of butter in this bowl at room temperature. But first, I want to, because I'll be using my whisk for the liquid ingredients, I want to go on and set up my dry ingredients. This is 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Now, it's best to sift it, but if you don't have a sifter, guess what? Run that whisk through it real good. Now, into this, we're going to add a teaspoon of baking powder. Yes, I measure with my hands most of the time. And you're going to want a teaspoon of baking soda. Whoop. That last little bit got a little happy. Bust up any lumps, put it in there. Now you're going to need a half a teaspoon of salt because it's a preservative, y'all. And a lot of people don't realize it's a flavor booster as well. And of course, I use Himalayan pink salt. And you want to whisk that together real well. Because now I have dry spices, but they're going to go into the liquid, the liquid side of the bowls. You're going to want 2 bowls. And that way, my dry ingredients are ready to go once this is done. Now, hopefully I can get this plantain open without having to use a knife. Yep. And as you can see, plantains look different. Oh, it smells good, and it's like a deep orange color. And like I said, these are not bananas. but they are in the banana family. And on these ripe plantains, I was blessed with a whole lot of plantains, and well, I didn't get around to them, and they got really, really ripe. But you know what? That's perfectly fine. 'Cause I'm going to make bread. There's many other recipes you could make with them. Now, you're going to want to mash the plantains, and they're not soft like bananas are. You have to use a little bit of elbow grease. And of course, I'm mashing it in with the butter as well. You want to make sure you get them good and mashed. Now, you can let your plantains go to almost completely black. They just get sweeter because when they're green, they're not sweet, but they are good fried. I'm telling you, I love plantains. I'm wanting people to think outside of the box and not be scared to try new things. Life's too short and precious not to try new ingredients. Okay, try not to waste anything if possible. Now, plantains are high in starch. Remember that. Okay, going to need 2 eggs, and I use large eggs. Let me move my stuff around over here. And don't forget, save your eggshells. Dry them out, powder them up, because this is the perfect time to be preparing uh, your eggshell powder for the growing season to come. Now, this is a quarter cup of whole milk. It looks rough because, well, I measured the nuts in the measuring cup. And then we're going to want, this is the magic ingredient to keep your plantain bread from getting really hard. And we're going to want it's a little bit more, a quarter of a cup. Now, if you don't like sour cream, you can use yogurt. And if you use yogurt, please use Greek yogurt. It's better for you. It's not loaded with sugar and everything. But the sour cream or the yogurt is what keeps your plantain bread moist and soft. Now, plantains are not like bananas as they get riper. Yes, they get somewhat sweeter, but they're not as sweet as extremely ripe bananas are. So, oh, this smells good already. To this, I'm going to add a cup of cane sugar, preferably Domino's, and that's what I'm using. Get that mixed in real good. Oh, it smells good, y'all. Alright, to this, I'm going to add a teaspoon of pure vanilla. Please do not use imitation vanilla. And I want a teaspoon of it in there, and your cap on your vanilla is a teaspoon measure. Now, I'm going to mix in the spices that go into this bread that I enjoy. I want, this is nutmeg. That's a whole nutmeg. And I'm going to fresh grate. I want about a half a teaspoon. Ah, that one's kind of hollow. I knew something was up. It was sounding different. Okay. Whisk that in there. I think I'm going to grab a different nutmeg and grate it so I can get some fresh, finer nutmeg pieces. There we go. That's looking a little bit better. Right, that's plenty there. And I'm going to want a half a teaspoon or just a hair more of cinnamon, because I like my cinnamon. So yeah, I'm going to say a teaspoon of cinnamon. Oh, this smells so good. So good. And that's organic cinnamon from Mountain Rose Herbs. And I'll have my affiliate link always in the description box below the video. And that way, if you want to get you some really good organic cinnamon, that's the place to go. Okay, that's all the liquid ingredients together. Now we're going to slowly mix in our flour mixture. Now if you have a stand mixer or a rotary hand mixer, you can use that. I'm just so used to using a whisk. I'll eventually get me a KitchenAid. That's what I've been wanting. One day it'll happen. You just gotta stay positive. Oops. If I keep slinging the flour around, I'm gonna look like one of those back when I was a kid, which was a long time ago. The old, some of y'all remember the old Rice Krispie treat videos, or not videos, commercials, where the woman would make the Rice Krispie treats and splash the flour on them, making it look like she worked really hard to make them. I want to tell you, this always smells so good when it's baking. It's been a long time since I've got to make any, and I am thankful. Man, I'm just spilling it everywhere. I am thankful to have been blessed with plantains from the food bank. You want to make sure you get it whisked all together really good, y'all. Scrape the bottom and the sides, incorporating everything. And you see you have little bitty chunks of plantain. This is basically a banana bread, just using plantain. Now, in here, now these are optional. I have a half a cup of chopped walnuts and a half a cup of raisins. Now, this is absolutely optional, especially if you have allergies. But I just like raisins and walnuts in it because it's quick bread and it just makes it all so much better. Now, if you don't want to use the raisins, you could always use chocolate chips. If you don't want to use nuts, you can just leave them out, or you could use pecans. You could use chopped macadamia nuts. You could use slivered almonds. Whatever you have in stock or what you prefer. But most of the time, you're only going to find green plantains in the store. You might look up and find some that are ripe or on clearance. And if you can only get the green ones, just put them on your counter and let them ripen. Alright, now you're going to take your buttered and floured loaf pan and pour the mix in. Oh, it smells so good, y'all. Okay. Oh, it's not that right. Okay, now you want to vibrate it a little bit. That way it gets air bubbles out. And we're going to stick this in a 350-degree preheated oven. It's going to take 60 to 65 minutes. Now, everybody's ovens are different, but once a butter knife or a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean, it's done and ready to come out of the oven. Also, a lot of times it'll pull away from the sides of the pan. That also shows you that it's done. Now, if you happen to put chocolate chips in it, you don't pay attention to the melted chocolate that comes back up. You make sure that there's no raw batter coming back up. So, I'll bring you back here in a bit because I have a little tip for freezing ripe plantains in case you don't want to make a whole bunch of loaves of bread at once. So I'll bring you back here in a little bit. Okay, here's an added tip. Like I said, I have a bunch of beautiful plantains that are extremely ripe and ready to be used. Now, if you can't use them all up at once, now you know if you're making the bread or you're making plantain balls or so on. See how many plantains are used for your recipe. Since I know for the bread, it takes two plantains. Like I said, sometimes it's like breaking into Fort Knox. And also another thing, save your plantain rinds. Your rose bushes will love you for it, or you can put them in your compost pile. Don't waste anything. have about 10 or I think it's like 10 plantains. I'm not fixing to make 5 loaves of bread all of a sudden. So what I'm going to do is, since they're all at this stage of ripeness and I do not want them to go bad, what you can do is mush them up real good. Do about a teaspoon to a tablespoon of lemon juice. Mush that all together really good. I just realized I forgot something. Alright, I'll be right back. Alright, make sure it's mushed real good. Now, if you're going to use them within a day's time or the next day, you can store it in your fridge. But if you know that you're not going to get to them for a while, let's write on it before we put it in. Get a good freezer Ziploc bag. No, this side. And you write 2 mashed plantains. Always fold your bag over because it sits better for you. Oh, they smell so good. And of course, I'd be using the pint or quart bags. I was going to try to get some today, but that's the store I went to. Yeah, they were too proud of them, so I'll let them stay. What to do is, like I said, this bag's overkill, but it's not going to hurt a thing. Roll them up into a log. Make sure you got them good and closed. And you can just store them. You might want to roll it where you can see it better, what the little log is. And so you can set it in your freezer just like that. And when you're ready to make more bread or the recipe that you're going to make, you know exactly what's in there and you can pull them right out. Let them defrost, come to room temperature, and get to cooking. Alright, I will bring you back as soon as the bread is done. I'll see y'all after a while. Welcome back. Alright, it has cooled for about 15 minutes. So, we're going to unmold the bread really gently. It tried to stick a little bit just then. Guess what? That ain't going to hurt nothing. Oh, looks like it's a crummy situation. Now, what you can do is you can go ahead and get you a slice, which I'm fixing to do because I'm impatient, because it's been too long since I've got to have some of this bread. I'll be right back. Alright, I have a knife this time. Alright, now, if you don't want to eat it right away, let it cool down completely. Now, this bread freezes very well. One trick you can do, I've learned, is you can use either plastic wrap. It's got to be completely cool. You can use plastic wrap or parchment paper, wrap it, and then wrap it in aluminum foil, and then put it in a freezer Ziploc baggie, a gallon size. Now, you can also do the same thing with individual slices if you're a single person, and then that way you can take them out of the freezer and let them come to thaw and come to room temperature and indulge that way. Or you can just go right ahead and cut into it. I'm going to save the end piece. Oh man, that's hot. I'm going to save the end piece to put back on the bread. Not the right knife for cutting this bread. But as you can see, it's nice, it's moist, it's a beautiful loaf of quick bread. I'm going to try not to burn myself. Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. Now, I will tell you, it's not overly sweet. If you want it to be sweeter, oh, that's good. If you want it to be sweeter, you can add a little more cane sugar, or you can even use light brown sugar, which will enhance it even more. Oh, yeah, this is good. This is good. It's been too long. It's been way too long. Now, a side note on the raisins, using the raisins or the chocolate chips. I've done both before. They are notorious for causing quick bread to possibly stick in your pan. So just be prepared for that. Don't worry. There ain't nothing wrong with that bread. You can still eat it. Oh, this is so good. I got a walnut. Hold on a minute, y'all. Sorry about that, y'all. It takes me a little bit longer sometimes to chew the walnuts. Now, you want to use, not this kind of knife, but it was the first one I grabbed. Use a bread cutting knife. And like I said, it'll cut even better once you let it cool down. Little Miss Impatient here, but happy as can be. This is delicious bread. Delicious. Extremely moist. All the aroma coming off of it, you can smell just barely a hint of cinnamon. Like I said, if you want to, you can increase the cinnamon in it. You don't want to do too much because you don't want to overpower the bread to where you can actually taste the plantains. But this is happiness right here. And I'm going to let it completely cool down. Then I'm going to put it in a Ziploc baggie. And me and Junior's going to have this is going to be a good part of our breakfast in the morning. Simple, easy, homemade. And you know exactly what the ingredients are inside this bread. There's none of all that chemical preservative crap. Now, with that being said, you either need to keep it wrapped up in the fridge in a Ziploc baggie or freeze it, either or. Now, it'll do fine on the counter for a couple of days if it lasts that long, y'all. I hope this video encourages you to also make your own plantain bread. It is so easy, so simple, and absolutely delicious. Remember to stock up your pantry with baking supplies as well, y'all. Most people talk about food and everything. You need baking supplies also that will nourish and sustain you, medicinals that will heal you, protection of all kinds, as well as the bare essentials to survive off of. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. May you each be blessed. Hoot hoot. Love y'all. See you soon.